Today I'm sharing all new 4th of July ideas. Keep watching! I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back! So the first project we're going to do is a patriotic wreath. Of course, we're going to need some pipe cleaners, 9 to be exact. We're going to need some different ribbons, so you can use Dollar Tree ribbon, whatever you got. I'm going to use the remainder of this 10-inch roll of mesh. I have some ornaments that I thrifted and an 18-inch wreath form. I'm also going to be using 1 roll of burlap that is blue from Walmart. Okay, so now we need to prep this wreath form. We're going to take our chenille stems or pipe cleaners. We're going to go on the inside and then the outside. I'm crossing over 2 of them, okay? Not just 1, but 2. It's going to make it a little bit more stable because we're going to be putting several layers on here. So now we're back to the outside, and we're just doing this right here where those little crossover sections are. So inside, outside, inside, outside, and continue around till you're back to the beginning. We're going to take the deco mesh, squish this up in our fingers, and this is going to be our little starting point. I'm grabbing it tightly. I'm going to choose a place to put it. Generally, putting it on the inside is a good idea to kind of hide it, but you can put it wherever you like and twist it down tightly. Then we'll go to the next section. We're going to have 12-inch poofs here, so I'm going to measure down. If you use a 5-inch deco mesh, your wreath is going to be very spindly looking because it's a large wreath. So if you're using a larger wreath, it's a pretty good idea to use a wider deco mesh, okay? And I know not everybody is a fan of deco mesh, so y'all just stay with me though, because this is going to be worth it. We're really just kind of using this deco mesh as a stabilizer, right? To put everything else on. So it's not going to be center stage. All right? Go down 12 and then go to the outside. So we're going inside, outside, just following the pattern that's already on there that we created with the chenille stems. We're going to go all the way around the wreath. Once you get back to that starting spot, we're going to take another 12-inch poof, place it down right over the top of where we started, and wrap it tightly. Now don't cut it off yet because we're going to go around one more time. Okay, so you're going to pull it to the inside or the outside, depending on which way you are. You're going to go the opposite of where you already were. I'm going to do the 12 inches again, and you're going to be going back and forth and back and forth, and it's going to create a little poof to the left and a little poof to the right. Pulling it out there, squeezing it up in the middle, and wrapping it down. So you can see back and forth, and we'll do this back and forth motion all the way down. If you lose track of where you're at, you can pretty much tell where the poof is, and you want to put it on the opposite side so that there's a bubble that goes all the way across your wire wreath frame. Does that make sense to you? You see what I'm talking about, right? Now you want to continue around the entire wreath this same way. If you have one of those mats that you can cut on, you can use that to measure as well. Back to the beginning, I'm going to cut it off, and actually that was the end of my roll. And I just put it down on top. Now we have all the deco mesh we need to fuss with. All the edges are tucked under, so there shouldn't be too much of an issue of snagging whatsoever. And now we're going to be putting this burlap on it. The burlap's going to give us a little buffer between the deco mesh, which has a tendency to kind of snag, and the ribbons that we're going to put down. So we'll just start wherever you like. You can go back to the original starting place, or you can start wherever you want to on your wreath because it's going to be covered up. You're not going to see it. Now we're going to take that and sit it right on top of the bubble. So you're going to set it on the bubble, and you can see here it's about 10 inches. You want it to sit on the bubble because the deco mesh is going to support the burlap. If you make it too big, it's going to sag. I don't want mine to sag. I want it to run right down the center be nice and pretty. So I'm not going to do that. 10 inches. See? Turn your thing straight though. Got to get that ruler straight. Pinch it up. And then go to the next one. So it's going to be sort of, you're following the same pattern. So in and out, in and out, in and out. But essentially I'm settling mine right over the top. Now you can move it back and forth once you get to the end of it and you're done with all of your little poofs of your burlap. You can go back and forth with it and move that burlap to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, so that it's kind of, looks like it's kind of weaving through there. Totally up to you how you want to do it. But I like to sit mine right on top. You can see where we're going, right? Now we're going to go all the way around. You're going to go back to the beginning point, just like we did the deco mesh. We're going to go right into that section. When you do a wreath that's got this many layers on it, you want to be sure you use a full size pipe cleaner, meaning don't cut those down trying to save money. It's not worth it. You will not have enough room left to put all the layers on it. Okay, so just take my word for it. All right, so I'm just cutting it off, and I just did a little dovetail. That it makes no sense. Whichever way you want to do it, you can cut it off straight. You won't be seeing those little sections that are the ends anyway, as we try to tuck those under. Now I'm just fluffing out the poofs, and I'm settling that burlap right on the top of it. Trying to see what we have going on here, how we like it. And I prefer the blue anyway. I love the way that blue looks, and it goes right down the middle. So now you're going to grab up whatever ribbon you have. This is from Dollar Tree. I've had it since last year, but they do have it again this year from what I've seen at my stores. And I'm going to cut these into 12-inch pieces. And then I'm going to take this one that I have thrifted. I'm going to put it down and do 12-inch pieces. This one from Dollar Tree. I like the mixing of the patterns for this. Now we can start putting them down. I've already done the dovetail. Y'all have seen me do that before. And now we're just going to start putting our little stacks of 3 together. I do this very often when I make wreaths. I love the look of it. It's so festive to me and colorful, and you can add a variety of patterns and color, and it really makes your wreath pop. And that's the idea when you have a wreath on your door, right? You want it to grab attention. You want to see that and make you smile every time you come in the door. You want your guests to see it and, you know, put a smile on their face as well. So let's give it some personality by giving it some different textures and patterns. That's why we're mixing the burlap here. We're mixing the stripes with the sort of a checkered look, you know, and then the stars. All right, so I did not have enough of my striped star ribbon. So what I decided to do is take part of the ribbon and to cut it into sections so that half of the wreath would have stars and the other half would just have a stripe and a plaid. So just follow the pattern here. So the original has 3. The second space has 2. The next will have 3. That's what you see in my hand right now. I make an X, put one down the middle, and just squish them up in the center. Hold them in my hand. Push it down into the space between the bubbles, and then wrap that chenille stem tightly around it a few times. Then you can kind of fluff it out, or you can wait to do the fluffing once you get to the end. It is totally up to you. I love to fluff, so I am constantly fooling with my ribbons and my bows. So we did 3, and now we're back to 2. Do you see what we're doing here? Now, you are welcome if you have enough of your ribbon, because my roll was not a new roll. I used some of it last year. So you are welcome to go all the way around with 3s if you would like, but you can do it with 2s. You can make it work, right? So I'm showing you the layout of the pattern. Once you get all of those on there, you're going to grab whatever ornament, ball, whatever you want to put on yours. You can even do flowers if you wanted to. But these are like a paper mache, and they're so nice. Y'all, I found these at the thrift store with some other sort of patriotic decor stuff, and I think that's where I got that mesh from as well. Like somebody had a Christmas tree, possibly, like a tree that they decorated, and I got a lot of stuff from it. So yeah, I was very excited to find those. I love the look of it. So I'm going to put another one in there. When y'all were kids, did y'all play with those little smoke bombs? Do you know they still make those things? My kids enjoy them too. They smell terrible. but they really are sort of mesmerizing, all the different color smokes that come out of them. They're really nice. And I don't think the mosquitoes are a big fan of them either, so that's a plus. You're going to go all the way around. And I'm loving this, but this wreath just like it is. We're not even going to put a bow on here. This is exactly perfect the way it is, in my opinion, because I made it my own. And you are so encouraged to make yours your own. You want to add a bow, you can do that. You want to add a sign in the middle, you can certainly do that too. And we don't need a hanger because it's a wire wreath form. We can just hang it right off of the form itself. So I hope you like this first one. We have 4 more to go, and you really want to stay till the end. If you enjoy this kind of content, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up to let me know you care. The next is going to be our Dollar Tree sign. All right, we're going to have 1 pipe cleaner, some antiquing wax, brush, sponge, whatever, some wire jute, Dollar Tree of course, a little scrap of corkboard, ribbons. I'm going to get a variety of ribbons. So I have a little checkered and one with a stripe that's kind of burlap looking. We're just going to mix our patterns up again. Look at this beautiful sign from Dollar Tree. It's been a long time since I've seen something different, 4th of July or for patriotic decor. Look how adorable this sign is. This really inspired me to do this. This is one of the easiest things you can do if you are a beginner crafter. But if you are not, still do this anyway because it makes a big impact for a very little amount of money. So I'm switching over to a sponge brush, and I'm going to go over the entire edge of this and on the inside of each of the open areas in the font. And then you can just wipe off if you get any smeared onto the front, just wipe it off with your finger. Or you can use a towel, whichever way you want to do it. In the tight spots, I'll be using a brush. So you don't have to do this part. If you want to leave this out, you can, but in my opinion, it does kind of give it more of a high-end look, more finished looking, instead of seeing that kind of papery stuff on there. So once it's done, I'm just going to kind of dry it. You can see that it really does make it pop. It does make a subtle difference. But like I said, you know, do it your own way. Just giving it a quick dry. You can see on the back that I had actually flipped it over and worked a little bit from the back side to get in those spaces I couldn't access from the front. And then we're going to make a hanger for it. So this is a wire jute. I like this. This jute is something that I'm sort of mixing into sort of make it a little more rustic, all of this decor. So that is what I'm going to add into my project. You can use a ribbon. You can go back into the same holes if you would like, but I'm going to make a bigger area because we're going to add a bow to the top of this, a beautiful bow. So we need a little more room to work, right? So it doesn't cover up the sign. I'll cut a couple of pieces of this cork paper off, and that's going to be sort of like our little band-aid for the back when we put the glue on. Now just folding it in half so I know where my center is. I'm going to try to make sure that it is slightly balanced. I'll be adding some hot glue and putting this close to the side here, and then covering up with a little bit of this sticker. Yes, there is adhesive on the back, but I want to make sure that nothing falls off. It's very windy where I live, and we have a lake back there, and I don't want, I don't want anything falling off. My decor goes on a covered porch, so I can't say that you can use these types of things all the time outside, but certainly everything I'm making today can be put on a covered porch. Now we have our hanger, which is secured, and we can start on the beautiful bow. I'm showing you a variety of ribbons here and a variety of texture. The two on the bottom are wired ribbon. The one that blue in there is just sort of a regular gift wrapping ribbon, and the one on top is not wired at all, and it's from Dollar Tree. I'll grab my bow maker. I'll link that video for you, so if you don't have a bow maker and you'd like to make something similar to that, you can. This is just, this is just my way of helping myself out. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't, but for these bigger bows, they are very helpful. So I'm just going to see how large I would like my bow loops to be, and I'm going to do 6-inch loops. And make sure that you put the pretty side of your ribbon up, so flipping it in the center and flipping it over will make sure that you keep that lovely pattern on the top. And there's a stripe in the middle on both sides, but it's where the stitching is that I'm looking at, okay? So I have 10-inch tail, and I'm going to make this tail about 10 inches too. Cut it off. And then we'll start with the next color. I'm going to put this plaid on top. Now, when I'm making bows, I prefer, if I'm using sort of mixed textures and some of the bows don't have wire, I like to make sure that the wired ribbons are on the underneath because they can help give support to the floppier ribbons so that they have a little more body and that they'll stand up and behave a little better for you. Okay? Same thing here, same measurements on this. Now you're going to see me do the same thing with blue and with the red and white because I want to show you something about this. Lessons learned, right? I knew this, but I thought, no, this is a good teaching moment. So here we go with the blue. You can see that it's that, what do you call it? Like a taffeta or papery type texture, you know, that you would use for gift wraps. That sort of thing. It's not like a real true fabric. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on, and I'm going to do it the same measurement. Pushing it in, both the sides look exactly the same. I'm going to cut the tails off exactly the same. And then we're going to do that with this unwired little ribbon that came from Dollar Tree. I'm twisting it to make sure I keep my pretty pattern on top. It really doesn't want to stay because it's such a thin ribbon. But we're going to make it work because I have a point here to get to. Then we'll cut the tail off the same length. I'm going to just grab that bow. You see how thick this bow is with all those layers on it? I'm squishing, 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 and pinching, and I'm going to pull that off. I'm going to not let go of it, and then I'll use my finger to hold part of that pipe cleaner down on the front, and I'll wrap it to the back. Pull it tightly next to the bow, and then twist the bow. Okay? Now, nothing's coming apart. Now let's take a look at this. Look at the wired ribbon and how it holds its form under there. You see how it holds its shape? I'm going to mix my textures a little bit and alternate which color loop goes on top and which goes on bottom. I'm looking at that blue one. Going to get one on that side, one on this side. It does okay holding its shape. Not perfect, but okay. Kind of problematic. But this one, you can see here, this is a problem. So because I didn't use a zip tie, I still have the ability to move this around a little bit. By pulling on the opposite tail from the loop, you can adjust the loops. So that's what you see me doing here. I'm going to pull, adjust, look and see how much needs to be taken in, and then I'll pull some more. Now in the end, these loops ended up being about 2 inches across each. The blue I'm pulling down, so they're about 4.5 inches. And I'm going to cut the tails. Cutting the tails is going to make these a little more floppy, a little more movable, let's put it that way. Floppy in a good way, not the bad way. Now I'm going to trim off that thin, and then we're going to attach it to my wired jute. Now at first I thought, okay, well let's put it on the side. That'll be cute, right? You can do that, but the weight of the bow might make it hang crooked. So I'm just going to attach it, and then you'll see me move it up into the center. You can cut off that excess right there and push those little ends inward so they don't scratch your wall or your door, wherever you want to hang this. Okay, you're going to pull it out, look at it, and yeah, that's just not going to work. So I'm going to slide it over into the center. And then start working with these tails. Now, you can dovetail the ends or cut your ends at a slant, like the thinner ribbon if you would like to, but I'm not even going to finish the ends because there are other things we can do with the tails. I want to show y'all what else you can do. Now you see how that ribbon's trying to curl there? You can actually take a good quality ribbon and curl it with your hands. You can twist it like this with your hands and make little curls. But if you don't trust that, or you can't deal with that, then you can get a something else to use to help you curl it. So this is our curling iron, right? We're going to twist this around and make a ringlet. We're just using this like you would a curling iron, right? On your hair. And we're making a little ringlet. And we're going to do this wherever you want to on the wreath. To me, this looks like a firecracker spinning up into the air. You know, it looks festive. It looks, I don't know, it looks, to me, it just looks right for this. And I'll do the same thing with any of the wired ribbon will hold its form. But it's not going to work on the blue, and it's not going to work on that thin gingham. Look how cute. Okay, I like that. But you do yours the way you want to. It's all about making something unique, making it your own, and not spending a fortune, right? So now I'm just going to trim off. I'm looking at the bow after I have it fluffed, and I want to make these a little bit shorter because I like the idea of them kind of standing out. See, I think that looks good on the top. All the tails do not have to be the same length. This is a party in a bow, y'all. I'm still fiddling around with that bow. Still fiddling around with it. You can use a little bit of hot glue to hold things in place if things don't look like you want it to look, right? You can use a little hot glue. Just don't go crazy with it because you don't want everybody to see that you had to do that. And then you can trim up the tails on that if you want. You can leave it like that, whatever you like. Very inexpensive. I had everything I needed for this project inspired by that sign. So yeah, I bought a sign for $1.25 from Dollar Tree, and I used ribbon I already had in my home. How about that? This is easy. If you're a beginner here and you haven't crafted yet, what are you waiting for? Let me know if you're visiting today and you're a new crafter and it's time to get started crafting, because I'm going to motivate you on this channel. I want to say thank you to all of my channel members. You do amazing things here so that everybody else can watch for free. Thank you. The next is going to be our wood round. I have a roll of pom-poms here. This came from Dollar Tree at Christmas. I've had it a while. This is a Temu applique or decal. And we're going to recycle one of these little MDF faux wood rounds from Dollar Tree. But you can do this on a regular wood round. This is just going to show you how you can do it here if you don't have one. So this little piece from Temu, actually, I think it cost like $1.59, maybe. Maybe. You can use any decals that you get from Dollar Tree. You can use window stickers. You can make something on your Cricut or your silhouette, whatever you want to do. I painted this white with chalk paint. I let it dry thoroughly. And then I'm just going to go over here with my decal and put it on. I'm just going to kind of angle it over the top and then slowly let it drop from the top down to the center a little bit. And you can see here that you can move it around a little bit if you need to before you put your squeegee on it and really flatten it out. I'm going to slowly let it down as I press any air, bubbles, tracks, anything that might be in there. So we have a nice smooth finish. Then I'll take my Mod Podge squeegee. Now the difference between this and my other squeegees is it is more pliable. It's more like a rubbery type texture. And I like that. I like that. It feels good in my hand too. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. And now I'll just work out any little bubbles or wrinkles or whatever I might have in there. You can also use your fingers to feel over the top to see if there are any areas that need to be worked on a little bit more and press those down. You can seal this with an outdoor Mod Podge if you would like. I am not going to seal mine just for time's sake. We're going to add the pom-pom ribbon or trim right on to the back around the edge just to give it something extra. Protect those fingers, ladies and gents. Choose your starting point wherever you would like. Add down a little row of hot glue. And then the little strip that goes underneath the pom-poms or above the pom-poms, depending on your perspective, is going to be the area that we glue down on the back of the board. And I'm keeping that trim lined up. This is made in a little rick-rack sort of style, so it curves easily to the back of a round surface. We're going to continue all the way around till we get back to the starting point. And one of those things I love is when things line up perfectly. And look at that. We didn't even have to skip one or fake it or anything. Nice. Now to sort of iron those out so they're not flopping straight to the back, you can add a little bit of heat from your heat tool, your blow dryer, whatever you have. Thank y'all so much for coming by today and checking out what's going on my channel. Your support means so much, and I am working on a goal of 100,000 by October 31st. This is a personal goal that I have set for myself to keep me going, to encourage me, and to, just really keep me focused. And it really is not about the money. I've said that before with every goal that I have hit. I mean, it helps because it supports my family, and that means a lot, but to get qualified for a silver play button to hang in my studio would make me so very, very happy. You just don't even know. So if you're not subscribed and you would like to, I would certainly appreciate it. And I'm going to do my best always to encourage you and support you on your crafting journey. Okay, so now we've made a very simple hanger, added a little hot glue and paper on the back just to keep it in place. And we can start working on some type of a bow for the top. Now I'm going to use this plaid ribbon here. I'm going to cut it off. You can see my little measurement. What did I do there? Like 6 inches, 5 or 6 inches. I'm going to cut a couple of those. The scraps that I had left, my incomplete scraps from that star ribbon, and then some of that plaid ribbon. I'm going to make an X pattern. Same thing here. Left, right, left, right. Then I'm going to add that one on top, another one across it, the smaller one right on top, just like that. And so it looks like an X, right? Now I'm going to sort of bunch it because that's a lot of ribbon for my little hands. And I'm going to grab it in the center and walk that ribbon toward itself. This video has lots of ribbon ideas for you, so be sure that you keep watching if you need help with your ribbons. I have had some people tell me recently that they really need some help with their bow game, so I'm going to try to help you in this video. Now twist, 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 and look at all the little ends, how they pop up there when you do that. They pop up, and the more wire you have in there, the better, because it's going to help you give some body and some height to it from underneath. And then you can fluff that bow. I love to fluff mine. And something else you could do to make this sort of bow is just to use any scraps that you have that are in the colors you like. Save your little scraps if you can, You can use them again. I'm going to cut my wire off because it's nice and tight. Now, that's me fooling with the bow again, because you know how I do. But even at the shorter lengths, you see you can easily control those ribbons that don't have wire on them. I'm going to put this right in the top center. Put yours wherever you want, though. I'll add a good bit of hot glue to hold this in place. Y'all be careful now, and I don't want any burnt fingers. I don't want anybody removing fingerprints here. And then you can adjust your bow any way you want. You can cut these a little shorter, which I go ahead and do because it really did need it. They were kind of hanging over, and I don't want to. The idea is to be able to see every little piece of ribbon that's in there, all the different patterns, right? We don't want to cover anything up, and we don't want anything flopping forward when we style it. How easy was this? I know y'all can do this. I want to remind you today, as you're here visiting on my channel, that you're important, you're valuable. Even when we have bad days, and I think we all do, just remember that there's help out there. And that people do care for you. I care for you. You matter to me. The next is a floral pot. We're going to grab up some ribbon. We're going to go to that same ribbon here. A foam block. Some stars. These are just little wooden stars I thrifted. Again, with those balls, I found those. And then these are some pots. Just grab 2 identical pots. I have 2 very beautiful royal blue hydrangeas. I think these are snapdragons, not entirely sure. You can see what the information is on these, and I have 2 of them. And then I have 1 white flower. Got our red, white, and blue flowers. I'm going to take these pots apart, and I'm not even going to bother myself with taking all the stuff out of the inside of that one. It's going to be the bottom, so you're not going to see it. We're going to stack these on top and almost make like an urn. And I think Using 2 types of glue is good on this as well. It's definitely something that you want to do if you're going to have it outside or where it might get knocked over so it doesn't come apart. E6000 on part of each raised area, and then I'll use a little bit of hot glue, stack them on top of each other, and hold them in place. I had someone ask me pretty recently about doing urns or little arrangements to put on at the cemetery, and I think that because this has a hole all the way down to the center, this would be a very good option for you to take to the cemetery as an arrangement. It's going to be a pretty little arrangement. You want to be sure that any type of glue or adhesives you use are permanent. Now I want to take the shiny plasticky look out of it and spray paint it with that beautiful satin white, and I love that. I think it looks much better. So that's our bottom right. Now we'll add in our foam. If you're going to use this as a cemetery urn or cemetery decor, you're going to want to glue this in place. Make sure that nothing comes out. I'm using Excelsior grass to go around all of the edges. At this point as well, you might want to go ahead and find your placement for a stake that you can drive that's going to be big enough to go through the center of that foam, through both of the holes in that pot, and into the ground if you want it to be stable at the cemetery. Okay? And that's easy enough to do. It's easy enough to do. You can use a dowel rod for that. All right. So now we can start playing around with our arrangement. Cut your pieces down. You can see I did a dry run and I did not like the way it looked, so I decided to make this shorter. I just didn't like the original arrangement, so I'm going to show you the one that I did finally use. Where that flower is, right next to that is where you would want to drive a stake into the ground to hold your little urn in place. So now, if you want to use this on the porch and not use it at the cemetery, you can start just arranging this. You can start putting this in a way that is pleasing to you, that makes you happy, that makes sense to you. You're going to see me turn this back and forth the whole time I'm making it, unless I edit sections out, because I like to see my arrangements from all sides to make sure that it seems balanced to me, that to my eye it looks right. So I'm adjusting. You can see the way it looks so far. I cut these little pieces off the bottom sections of those very, very tall red flowers. I don't want to keep calling them snapdragons because if they're not right, then it'll get on somebody's nerves. So I'm going to spare you and just call them the red flowers. And then I'll just kind of spread the color out by adding some in the front as well. I'm looking all the way around. And I like the idea of using that Excelsior grass, but you could certainly use moss for that. I just thrifted that Excelsior grass not too long ago and wanted to be able to go ahead and use it. Because why thrift something if you're not going to use it, right? Yeah. So then I'm taking the leaves that were areas that I cut off, and I'm just going to add some little wire pieces that I cut off of other florals. I like to save those, so I have a little box that has those in there. I can grab that wire quickly and use it again. And it works great on this. They're pretty much the standard size for most leaves and flowers. So they work well. And I want to have greenery in here, so I'm adding greenery. Remember, if you're using wire, you can bend those into any shape or form. I like the look of that kind of hanging over the edge. And since the greenery came off of these pieces anyway, it looks great. I wanted to add a little something more, so I forgot I had these. I've used these in projects for years. I save them because they are so pretty. What kind of flowers are these? I know I've got some ladies out there who know their flowers. I know I do. Now I'm cutting these at a slant because they're a little too big, a little too long or tall for what I need, so I'm just going to cut them down a little bit. I'll still be able to use them in other projects. Very cute. They're very compact. Such a pretty little flower. And so I have 2 little bunches of red and 1 bunch of white, and I'm just going to add those in there where, I mean, where it feels like it looks good to me. Look how pretty and wild that looks. It looks like you went into your garden and just grabbed some things out of the garden. I love the look of that. So pretty. So now around the center of our urn, I am going to use a strip of that ribbon. This is not necessary if you don't mind your pots or your planter the way that it is. Totally up to you. You could also use jute, but I think that's kind of been overdone, just in my opinion. Anybody else can use rope or jute if they want to. But for me, I wanted to do something different. You know, You know we're all about making it my own on this channel, right? And I always want you to think outside of the box. Definitely do it the way that you like it, but I want to give you options, okay? I always want to give you options. And I like the way this looks. And it gave me more ideas doing it this way. As I was doing it, I knew what I wanted to do next. So hopefully this will be inspiring to you. So we're going around here, and I'm going to continue to add that just where it's kind of gripping on to the last probably 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to put it back on itself and glue it down. And now I will start adding some of the wooden stars. So we're going to do red, white, and blue. The center is going to be the white one. These are just little wood. They're very, very lightweight, and they grip onto the burlap very well. So I'm just going to glue that on, and then I'll go on to the next one I want to add. I always like to kind of give it what I call a dry run. I like to kind of place it down there and see what it's going to look like first before I add the glue and make any final decisions. Any areas that is touching that wicker or the vine or whatever you want to call it on that star, I'm going to glue down onto the burlap because it is a true burlap ribbon. Then we'll go over here to the white so that the pattern will be red, white, and blue. And I'm just going to add that also onto any of the pieces that overlap onto one another. So where the red touches the white, where the white touches the blue, I'm going to take advantage of those spaces to add a little hot glue because it's not very noticeable. Now, if you had strings everywhere, use your heat tool and make them disappear. I want to add some more to the top because I have quite a few of these. So I'm going to grab another red, white, and blue. I'm going to add floral picks right to the inside with some hot glue to hold it in place. And I put about 1 inch in there because I really want to give it some support. I don't want it to fall off. Remember, if it's going to be outdoors and in the sun, you are going to want to use some permanent type of glue, whether it's super glue, whether it's fix-all adhesive, E6000, whatever you have that you have good experience with it, with permanence, you'll want to use that. And y'all, I want you to think too, this is not just something that would be good for 4th of July or Independence Day, also Memorial Day, Veterans Day, the President's birthdays. I mean, there are so many reasons. If you have a military family, that would be nice. Yeah, I mean, just think of all those ways you can use this. Think of what a wonderful gift this would be to someone as well. I love the movement in that. So nice. I'm so glad that divine intervention steps in for me when I'm not really sure where I'm going on a project. You know, I just look at it, I give it time, and then the ideas come. And I know that that's a God-given gift. And I know also that that is something that we all possess to some extent. We just have to practice it, right? We have to just make that muscle stronger. You know, make that area of our brain stronger, more confident. We're going to do that. We're definitely going to do that on this channel. And this is what this one is going to look like. I'm very happy with this piece. It's so festive and pretty to me and kind of wild looking on the top. You know how I do it. And I hope that you feel inspired by this. And to the people who ask me about doing cemetery arrangements, I hope that this is something that you'll consider doing. Very inexpensive, very, very inexpensive. And it really makes an impact, I do think. The next is going to be a star spinner. How fun! So here we are with one of those stars from Dollar Tree. It's 2 stars, a hollow star and then one on the inside. I'm going to use a little sander of whatever type you choose. 2 different types of fabric that are red, white, and blue. So I got this one from Dollar Tree, and this is a curtain actually from the thrift store. And then I'm going to use an embroidery hoop. This is a 12-inch hoop right there. And we're going to start by cutting all of this business off and taking the tag off, okay? Look at this tag. Who doesn't love a clean peel? That is so nice. It's so satisfying. And you know, with these pieces, they're raw, so they often have little snags and edges on it. In order to protect myself, because I have had so many splinters in the past not doing it, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a quick little sand and protect myself as I'm working with it. Look at the paint on my fingers, y'all. I'm going to cut off the hanger, And I am going to take those pieces apart, and now I can really get to it and sand off all the little edges and pieces that need to be done. Wipe all the dust off when you sand, definitely. We're going to do both pieces the same way. Feel it, make sure everything's smooth. Then I'm going to start with the red fabric. I'm going to put it on the solid star. So I'm going to just cut off a section of it that it's easier to work with. This is, like I said, somebody had made a curtain, so we want to go ahead and get this out of the way, cut the trim off. I'll be using Mod Podge to attach this. Now I'm using a matte Mod Podge. You can use outdoor Mod Podge, you can use whatever you want. This is such a fun little project. If you are the kind of person like me who enjoys sitting out on the porch when the wind is blowing and the wind chimes are chiming and the birds are happy and you can see the shadows, you know, and the sunlight just dancing through the trees. Oh, back porches are magical places, aren't they? So this is perfect for that. And I have a grandson who I think will be delighted with this, all the movement in this. So after I've got a pretty thick layer of Mod Podge on there, I'm going to add down my fabric. I'm going to just press it in with my hands, and then I'll grab a brayer and I'll just go over this entire thing with the brayer, making sure that I'm feeling the points.
Welcome aboard the Crafty Cruise Getaway, where creativity sets sail once again. Join us on Royal Caribbean's Mariner of the Seas, sailing out of the port of Galveston, Texas.
Prepare to be dazzled as we stop in Costa Maya and in Cozumel. Just like our maiden voyage, we will host exclusive crafting workshops on sea days. We have some amazing projects lined up for you that guarantee something for everyone to enjoy.
For the Crafty Cruise Getaway 2025, we're introducing our newest sponsor, We Create. Elevate your crafting with the state-of-the-art laser engraver and cutter, valued at over $1,500. We are thrilled to give away one of these amazing lasers as a door prize to one lucky participant.
Mark your calendars for February 17th through the 22nd and join us on the Crafty Cruise Getaway for creativity, relaxation, and lasting memories. To book your spot, visit www.craftycruisegetaway.com. See you on board in 2025.
If y'all didn't go with us last year, you gotta go with this the next year. That's right. Okay, so now we've got everything Mod Podged. It's drying over there to the side, and we're going to paint this star. You could certainly do some Mod Podge technique and fabric on here if you want, but I like the idea of just leaving this solid white. So I'm using some matte acrylic paint. In case you don't have chalk paint, acrylic will work. And you can use glossy, whatever type you like, but I like the matte finish, so I'm going to use matte. I'm going to go over all of the edges and on the inside and on the outside. Whole thing's going to be white. Set it aside to dry. Now this is dry, and it looks like paper. It's practically paper because that Mod Podge, when it is dry, makes it stiffer, like kind of like you starched it. So I'm going to cut the bulk of it off with my scissors. Now if you want to get close to the edge of this, you don't want to do the sanding, you can certainly do that. You can put it down on a mat and use a utility knife, or you can sand it. So I've got my sander, and I wanted to show you something. Now it's not wanting to really sand through this, is it? It's not. It takes a little bit off, but I don't have a strong enough sandpaper. This is 180 grit. We're going to switch it over to 240. This is really going to bite into it. So the higher the number, the rougher the grit. And it is really going to take that off. Did you see that fall off? Yeah. So you want to have definitely a coarse sandpaper for doing this type of a thing. It'll go right through it and save you some time and aggravation. I love my little sander. You can get these practically anywhere, but you can use a block too. So once it is dry, I'm going to go right into that hole with my little scissors, just because they're the same, you know, I can get into that hole with that, but you can use it all, and I will show you how to do that when we get to the other side. All right, so there we go. The sides need to be finished. To me, I don't want to leave them open like that. I'm going to grab some of this chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree in the black, and just straight across, I'm going to go with this black. You don't want to use too much because it will possibly bleed down into that fabric. So I'm making sure I'm just flat on that edge, straight up and down to that edge. I have more control this way rather than using a brush when it comes to doing these thin wood edges. And it's just easy. It's just simple to do. Really easy to do. And you're not putting a lot of paint on, so it dries quickly. So now you need to set it aside and let it dry. Look how it really makes that pop. I'm going to dress the other side now with the Dollar Tree paper. I'm going to quickly go through that and show you how to do that. We're going to add a layer of Mod Podge. You don't have to be sparse like you are with paper because the fabric is not going to do all the wrinkling that the paper does. I'm going to put that on top, kind of center it, pat it with your hands, grab the brayer, push any bubbles, wrinkles out. I tried to line my pattern up too. And then you're going to grab your Mod Podge and go over the entire thing. You're going to see a little bit of white on the edges of the star, and that's going to help get those edges nice and crisp. Once it's dry, you're going to do the same thing with the sander, and then you're going to go back over it with the black. Perfect. Exactly what I was looking for. I have some beautiful midnight blue spray paint. I'm going to spray this embroidery hoop and leave it outside to dry in the sun. We're going to reassemble the star now. So you can see the hole in the top. You can use an awl or whatever you have in that diameter to go right through. My awl is perfect for the size of the holes for these Dollar Tree things. We're going to do it from both sides, and wiggling it back and forth is going to help press any of that fabric into that hole and give a nice clean finish. It will look manufactured. See how clean that is? Yes. And now we're going to put it back together. Don't let this intimidate you. I've got some thin grosgrain ribbon in white. You can use a cord, you can use jute, you can use baker's twine, any type of twine. However you want to do yours is completely fine. Not a wire though, because you want it to have freedom of movement. So I'm going to put this right through the back, and it is cut at a slant. I know it's hard to see with such a small ribbon, but it is cut at a slant so it will easily go through that hole. I'm going to find my placement here to make sure it has room. Then I'm going to stabilize it with my wrist and my forearm so that when I tie that, nothing moves and I still have the same space. And I'll tie it in a double knot. And it will move back and forth perfectly. Of course, you know, it's a weird angle, so it's going to hang up on itself occasionally. Then you can trim off the excess. And you can add some hot glue. I'm just going to move that knot up to that hole right there, and then kind of push it down. We'll grab the second piece and feed it through here. Nice, nice, nice. Everything is working great. And we're going to hang it from our embroidery hoop. I want to make sure that it is in the position that I like. I don't want it to be hanging where it's hitting the edges as it spins, and I don't want it to be too low. So I am going to make a little tie once I've measured. Very easy. I do these all the time. Slide, slide, slide before you tighten anything up. Double check it, make sure it's where it needs to be, and I like it right there. So then I can tighten it up. Just pulling that knot to make it tight. I'm going to loop that over the screw there, and then right down in the crack I will pull it, both of those pieces right down into there. Add a little hot glue so it doesn't fall off of that loop. And you see I've pulled that straight down into the opening right there. And even when the screw's all the way tight, there's a little space that you can pull your ribbon into. Trim off your excess, make it nice and neat. Now you can leave yours like that if you'd want to, but I am going to use some more of this curtain because I had it, so why not? I'm going to trim off all of the edge where they had the seams, and we're going to make just a little messy little bow. I'm going to just pull pieces off about an inch wide, I guess, of this ribbon or this fabric that's about 5 inches wide, maybe 5 or 6 inches wide. You don't want to go too wide with these in this type of bow because they'll flop straight down instead of standing out. I'll just alternate my blue and my red over on top of each other. Blue, red, blue, red, blue, red. Doesn't matter how many pieces, it doesn't matter. And then I'll take a red piece and go around the center. Again, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Any colors that you want, any fabric you want. You can tear up an old shirt if you've got something that would work for this. Yep, you sure can. Any thrifted anything. I'm just making sure it's about the same length here, making this the right length. I'm pulling off any extra little frays of fabric because the threads will come loose when you do it this way. But I like the look of it. It's very, very shabby. Okay? I'm not going to finish the edges. We're going to leave them just like they are. I'm going to try to fluff it out a little bit. And then the little section that we tied it with, I'll wrap it around the screw. That's why you want to use this part. Now there's an intersection that goes with an embroidery hoop too, but that can be saved for another project. You just want the outside. I mean, you can really stretch your money if you buy one hoop and get 2 wreaths, right? Now I'm just going to kind of pull this apart and look at it and see what I like. Now this is the first bow. I'm going to show you how you can do a different bow as well. Okay, so now we're going to turn it over. And I'll show you a different bow. Now, obviously, you're going to want to use the same bow on each side. So if you use the little sloppy bow over there, you want to use that on the front and you want to use it on the back. If you want to use this little, it's going to look sort of like a bow tie, you can use it on the front and on the back. I'm going to tie it in the middle. Just folded it over on itself. It was just a little scrap that I had. It's about 6 inches wide if I had to guess. And then you want to tie that in a knot right in the middle. You can certainly use a wider piece, but I'm just using scraps to just show you what you can do if if that's all you have left. I don't want y'all to ever get discouraged and think that you can't do something because you don't have exactly what I have. No, you're going to take what you have and we're going to make it work, okay? So now I'm going to fold the whole thing over and just cut a dovetail. Why? I don't know. I just felt like it was the thing to do at the time. You don't have to do that, but I thought it would look cute, and I actually like it. But I do like the other bow much better. But you got to play around. You got to, when you're creative and you're crafting, you got to play around so you know what you like and don't like. Okay, so again, what you're seeing is 2 different bows. You need to use the same bow on each side. You're going to do the bow tie, do it on both sides. You're going to use the sloppy bow or the little messy bow, and you're going to do it on both sides. Okay? So now I decided, since we have this left, let's make this the hanger. So I'm going to cut a section off that's about 14 inches long, and then I'm going to trim right along the edge where they had already put their seam. So everything is locked in there. It almost looks like a ribbon. I'm going to move that over, put it right in between that hanging ribbon there that attaches the pieces together. I'm going to go over the top, add a little bit of hot glue, glue it back upon itself. You could also stitch this if you need it to be stronger. And then when the glue is cool and you hang it, look how cute that is. But just to make sure nothing slips around when it's hung up in a strong wind, I'm going to add a dot of glue on the back, on that bow, and then I'll flip it over and add a dot of glue on front on the other bow. Simple enough, right? And then this is how it is going to look. And then I'll flip it over and show you what the back side looks like. And then there's the other. Very easy way to stretch your money and still get that really nice look. And you're using a Dollar Tree piece, right? And some stuff that you already possibly had. And that makes this project great. All of these projects are doable. They're not hard. It's definitely something that you can work with. Look at the movement in there. That's going to be so pretty on the wind, in the wind when I'm sitting on my back porch. All right, I've got a video right down here in this rectangle I want you to click on next. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon.